This is Ann Osborne, and I'm taping Jessie Grant.
Jessie Green Grant.
Jessie Green Grant. That's right. On
Yeah.
on St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah,
1988, in
1980.
Saluda, in their living room.
Oh,
all right.
good.
Well, now tell me when.
Now I'll tell you when Mother was a bride. She came up from Zemi Holmes from Charleston was here.
If you'll start over again, I tested that.
Yeah. When Mother was a bride, what do you call it? She was
A new bride, I guess.
She was
First married.
Yeah, she was just married. And she came, Miss Emmy Holmes from Charleston, was their friend, because Mother was from Charleston. And she invited Mother up here to spend the, up because she had the house on the corner up here, the big white house, Miss Emmy Holmes from Charleston. And she had not, and Mother came up to visit her.
I'm going to put this a little closer because I don't think you can hear too well. If we could put it in your lap, that would probably be better. There. All right.
So, Mother and Father came up here.
Which house was that now that she had? Her house?
There's one on the corner right there, that big white house.
Oh, that's now green, the one that, right
Yeah.
over here?
Yeah, right up there, yeah.
The next door.
Next door. And that was Miss Amy Holmes. That was a, she had people.
It's now the Nicholsons.
Now the Nicholsons. No, I don't know.
They're next door now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh,
that
yeah,
house,
yes.
is that right?
That big house on the corner. Yeah.
And they came up to stay with her?
And she invited Mother up here for the, she was a bride, and she came up here, and Mother was overcome with Saluda. And so she, let me see what she did. She visited Miss Emmy home, and she decided that she wanted a place in Saluda because there was cousin, whatever her name was, Jones, and cousin over here, what is it?
Oh,
house on the corner,
yes,
right there.
next door. She was a Rembrandt, wasn't she?
No, she was I'm going to know. Anyway, they were friends, but they knew. She told Mr. Green, her husband, you know, they've always called it.
Always called him Mr.
Mr. She told Mr. Green that she had to have a house in Saluda because she had cousin Gussie and cousin
Gussie, that's right.
Yeah. And they all knew about babies, and she knew nothing about babies. And she had to have a place up here. So Father bought this spot right here. And he had told his house, copied, over enlarged. And if you noticed it, have you ever noticed it?
Right, it's the same.
It's the same thing. And they're really small. That's why they had to put a porch on the back, you see. So Father did that only if you had it, all the rooms were enlarged. The whole house was enlarged.
On the same plan.
Same thing. And that was when, and that meant that we came to Saluda every single summer.
And how old were you when?
I wasn't born.
Oh, that was, well, no, if she was a bride, you weren't born.
I wasn't born yet.
But you came as soon as you were born.
She came to visit Miss Emmy Holmes from Charleston, who had running that house on the corner there. And that's when she fell in love with Saluda. And said she had to have a place in Saluda. So Father bought this lot, and he had that house, Coles' house, copied. Only he enlarged everything about it, which made it, I think, all the rooms
much nicer
much
house.
nicer. Nice house. We've got two bedrooms upstairs with a lavatory and two down here. And so she got what she wanted.
Well, Do you happen to know who built it?
No,
No, right.
no idea.
Just some of the mountain people
But there's
here?
I think so. But it was copied from
From the
the
Colts.
Colts' house.
You know what year it was that it was built?
No, but I know it was, I don't even know when I was married, I mean the year.
Well, how old how long before you were born? A couple of years? Or
Oh, well, I was the third daughter that
Oh,
was.
so there were other children.
Yeah, Margaret, Virginia,
And you were the
Jessie.
youngest.
No, Margaret, Virginia, Jessie, Hal, and Forrest.
The five of you.
5 of us. So she had 5 children.
And when she came up and brought you all, did she bring up maids from?
Oh, yes, we got on the trains in Saluda and come up, and we would stop at the depot down there. That was an excitement when the train came to Saluda. And it stopped, and we got off, and the horse and buggy was there ready to drive us up here, and we used to come up here. And that little house there was, that little white servant's house that's on the edge of the thing. That was on the road, right facing the road.
Oh.
And so,
Oh, it was out that way on that road. And what was the name of the old mammy that you had for years and years staying there?
Bessie.
Bessie.
That was Bessie's house.
And when did she start coming?
Bessie, well, mother would bring them up from Columbia. That's where she'd bring when we came from Columbia to Saluda for the summer, we had to bring everything that you wanted to use, in the kitchen and everywhere. But we did, and mother's mother, Mrs. Boylston from Florida, was crazy about it, so she came every time we opened the house.
Your mother's mother?
My mother's mother.
Was it Boylston?
Boylston, B-O-Y-L-S-T-O-N.
And she came from
From Florida. She came from Florida, and she had two debutante girls,
Oh.
Susie and May,
They were your mother's sisters then?
and mother's sisters, young sisters. And they came with her, and they were very popular. They had lots of friends come to see them.
Susie and May, did you say?
So,
Susie and May, did you say?
yeah, Susie and May.
And they had lots of beaux.
Oh, yes, they had lots of those.
And what did people do then in Saluda?
Well, as far as I know, they just the Coleses and the Joneses. They'd come up every summer, and they'd meet at the Joneses and have songs. They'd sing all sorts of songs every time they came.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
And they had young girls, and so that was exciting too, because they all wanted to go to Hendersonville to dances and so on. And grandmother wouldn't let them go.
Oh. I guess it was a long trip to Hendersonville by...
They had to get on the train.
On the train to go to Hendersonville?
Yeah, well, certainly.
You wouldn't take a buggy over or anything like that?
Well, when mother came up once, when we came to this house, they had to bring everything, every bit of
Food?
food, not food especially, but everything that you needed in the kitchen, in the dining room, and the bedrooms, and everything. And they all had to be brought up and then packed again and taken back again, locked up for the winter.
Oh, I see.
So nobody stayed here in the winter.
And you couldn't just leave them here?
No, not at the beginning. No. We had to get up in Columbia and get on that train that came up out to Saluda. And that was a wonderful train that came to Saluda, because all the husbands could come up on the train and get off and And the little boys, mountain boys would meet the train with chinkapeens. You know what chinkapeens are?
Chinkapees, they're a kind of nut, aren't they?
Yeah, little. And they'd make wreaths of those and have them around the neck and sell them to the people as they came in to salute her through the windows of the train.
Oh.
Yeah. So my mother came aboard. The train started off before they got all the things off the train.
Oh.
And the train had to be backed from Hendersonville all the way back.
They wouldn't do anything like that now, but in those days it was wonderful.
But they backed all the way down to Salua. And everything was all right after that.
They left some of the luggage, was that it?
I think they left more of it.
Oh, no!
Yes.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
I think Margaret was on that train. Oh, it was a tragedy. And the train had to back to Salua.
I think that's wonderful.
So we got this, and then mother's mother, Mrs. Boylston from Florida, used to come up. I think I told you that.
With Susie and May.
Susie and May. They had lots of boys.
And
so
did the bows come up then from Columbia?
Yeah, they come up with a train. And
they usually come weekends and go back with that?
Go back.
And your father, I guess.
Oh, he'd come. All the husbands would come up for the weekends, the Colbys and the Joneses and all of us. So we quite a...
Seems to me you told me about when you and Virginia were little and you used to go for walks with the colored maid, didn't you?
Oh, sure, yeah. Yes, we used to. We actually had to bring the maid, and we had to bring everything to the beds and for everything you needed in the house. You couldn't leave anything in the house that you cared for, like linen and anything, silver. And,
you know, it got better after that because in all the years we had the old house, we never lost any.
Never lost anything. Well, that was just before people started coming here to live for the summer. Miss Annie Holmes had the house here on the corner. And she had lots of people in the summer. And they even put little I remember they had little tents along the road, along the fence inside.
Tents?
Tents.
For people to stay in?
To stay in for the night. That just came up for the weekend, that's all.
Oh. And now that was over next door here?
No, that was right over there.
Oh, where Miss Wilcox
Miss
lay.
Wilcox, yeah.
Now was she, did Miss Holmes have it first and then Miss Wilcox?
Yeah.
Because I knew Miss Wilcox had, they
Miss
called
Wilcox had that, and then the Holmeses had the big house on the corner up here.
this, not right across the street.
Right across the street.
Well, I thought that was Miss Wilcox's.
Well, that was, but that's right.
But it was Miss Holmes first and then Miss
Yes,
Wilcox. I see.
No, I think Miss Wilcox was right here on this corner right here.
Right here by your house,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, and the other
That's
one was on up Chisholm Street?
Right where the other house is now. It's the same house.
The great big one up at the top, up the top of the hill. Oh, and was...
Oh, no, I'm going up the top of the hill. We didn't have anything up at the top of the hill.
Oh, you mean over next door here? I'm trying to think. There's the Joneses. I mean, Perrin Place. It was the Mannings.
Yeah.
And then Judge Cease.
Yeah,
And then next to that was Miss Wilcox.
that's right.
And then over across was the Coles, and then back of that was that little house at the Greens, that Jimmy Green.
Yeah, they did. Well, she gave that to Mary Wright, because Mary Wright married another Green.
Oh.
She was a Green. She married a Green. And they gave her that cottage.
Right. Yes.
So.
But the big white house of Miss Holmes then was on up beyond that?
Miss Holmes's house was up this street.
Up this street?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, the big house on the corner.
I see.
Oh dear, we used to have a time getting up in the morning, getting up on the train. We always came on the train. Just a little.
I bet your mother had trouble with having all of you to get dressed. And
Oh, boy. And get the colored maids along. You had to bring everything, every knife and fork that you needed, and everything really. So
and
it was
I
quite
bet you
a-
got here covered with cinders, didn't you?
Yeah. But we always met with horse and buggy with a fringe on top.
What was the name of that old man that used to, or I guess he wasn't so old,
He
but
wasn't so.
he met the,
We met every train.
I can't remember, it was one of the Paces, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. The Paces did.
And then they'd bring the luggage on up and the people, or would they
No,
put
no,
the luggage in
they-
another wagon and the people in
They
the...
had a wagon. They had a buggy with a fringe on top to drive the
The
people.
people up, and then a
And
wagon,
then a wagon to bring
the
the
bag.
baggage. And they bring them up. And it all got settled. And grandmother fell in love with this place. And she brought her two daughters, May and Susie. And they were just young teenage girls at that time. And they practically took over the house from Mother. With the two girls, she had to give them upstairs, two bedrooms upstairs. Anyway,
Well, tell me about when you and Virginia used to come up here. When you were teenagers, what did you do?
well, we used to have fun. I don't know what we did so much, but we had friends come in and visit us, and we couldn't go far. We had a horse and buggy, and grandmother had an accident on that street going down, to she,
What goes down by the church now, that street? In the horse and buggy, she had an
horse and
accident?
buggy. And no, just going down, just right straight down to the road. And the horse and buggy were around. And the horse did something, and turned the carriage over that they were riding in with mother and father. So she had to be saved, but she was. They got her.
They take her to the hospital?
Yeah, they took her to the hospital.
Hmm.
She was just, well, the whole buggy that they used to ride in, they were open, and they just fell out. So that was on the accident she had. But that she didn't really get hurt bad with that. But,
Well, tell me about the ice cream parlor down. Didn't they have an ice cream parlor?
yes, and they had an ice cream parlor, and then they had a place at the back where they could dance.
And who danced? Just the summer people, or did
Just the summer people, I think. And
that was
mother, that was when we were, I guess we were in the teens, early teens. So we could go, because the older girls went to Henderson Mill, and we were not allowed to go out of school.
that was smart.
But they had a place behind one of the stores there. It was a where you could have a dance and have fun. We had fun.
I wish they had that. Of course, they've built that one across the tracks now where you can square dance.
But they had one down there that you go through.
And it was not square dancing. It was just regular dancing.
Regular
Is that right?
dancing, yes.
I bet it was fun to see everybody in there, dressed up in there.
Dressed up in there, and
Somebody told me at one time that you didn't, that in Saluda you wouldn't really go downtown unless you were in a, well, really dressed up with hat and
Oh, no, you could do whatever you wanted to do in Saluda.
really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. That's a great thing about it now.
Yeah. We used to have horses, and we got a donkey. And one of those, I don't know what you call it.
Little donkey cart?
Yeah. Don't you know, with the seats on the four sides of them, with a
Oh,
square
yes.
thing? What do they call that?
They used to call them a pony cart or a dog cart.
It
didn't they?
was, and they had donkeys with them. Oh, they had it. And so Father bought us Virginia that so she could get around. We took it home to Saluda. And he had the best time in Columbia. We had the best time in Columbia later on, because we took back to Saluda, to Columbia. And Virginia and I were at college in Columbia. And we'd have to have the horse and buggy to get to school. And it was big enough for Virginia and me and the nurses.
Well, this was the donkey cart.
The donkey cart. Mm-hmm. The donkey cart. But we had a good time with that. They'd take us to the school, and then they'd come back for us. And the only way we could come back was way out of our way to come up Pendleton Street. Our house is on the corner of Bull Street was this way and Pendleton was this way. And it was much easier to come this way, but we had to come this way because the dormitories from the university, you see, we lived directly across the street from, here's our house and here's the University of South Carolina. And when you came up Pendleton Street, the dormitories were along the road, and they'd see us coming, and they'd get to the window and they'd go, "Whoa, Saluda."
They called you Saluda.
The horse.
Oh, the horse was Saluda.
Yeah, it was nothing but a donkey.
A donkey was Saluda.
Said, "Whoa, Saluda." Saluda docked there.
Oh, for heaven's
Stop.
sake.
And then the Virginia's maid that had to get out and get a switch off of the tree and put it right in front of his face to make him go again.
Is this when you were in grade school?
Yeah. See, the university, there was
The boys there in the university?
no, there was a
Girls' dormitory?
girl's place. Yeah. And so that's where we got that. So we had to come up Pendleton Street, because the other way was much shorter. But we wanted to say that, "Whoa, Saluda."
I guess everybody knew Saluda.
Oh, yeah.
Columbia.
Okay. And the dormitory was right along the street, and the boys got out and could hear that. And we couldn't come home any other way.
Well, tell me now, when
That was just,
you moved here for good, to stay year-round.
not very long.
Was this,
I was trying to think of what it was, because I
it
got
seems to
married
me you
now.
all were coming in the summer, just in the summer when we first started
Yeah,
coming.
undoubtedly we were. See, Mother had this house, and then her mother from father had two girls,
And they used to all come up in
and
the
they
summer.
used to all come and take over the house, practically.
And then after, well now during World War I, did you come up then? Just before you were married, and then did Saluda sort of close down during the war, or?
So during the winter it did.
But people still came up during
Oh yes, they came up.
during the summer.
And you see, the men could come up, the trains could come up and stop at Saluda, and they'd come up for the weekend on the train. And the little mountain boys would meet the trains, and they had, you know what chinky pins are, and they'd have strings of chinky pins around And they meet at all the trains and sell those gingerbreads.
Well, tell me about the other, now they had the hotels here. They were really boarding houses, I guess,
they were
but
really
they called
boarding
them
houses.
hotels.
It's a big boarding house right on this corner.
And did they have dances and that sort of thing there, or did
Well, they had mostly, they were in Hendersonville.
Yes.
And we were not allowed to go in Hendersonville.
And then you and Virginia came to stay here together. Must have been, what, 15 or 20 years?
Oh, yes, that was a long time ago. Poor mother, she had, I think it was four cases of some sort of disease that children get. What is it?
Measles?
Measles or something like that, in Columbia. And Aunt Gussie, table down here, called mother and said that she wanted her, because she had two sick children at home, and she wanted her to send my brother, Corbs, and me up to, and she would keep her in Gussie in that same house down here until she could get up here. So mother was glad to get rid of herself, and so she sent us, and that's where they put us.
And you stayed with Aunt Gussie. Now that's Louise's mother?
Yeah. It was a big house down here.
The Brown
And
house.
they put us in the attic.
In the attic?
In the attic. And there were flying squirrels in the attic, and I've never been so terrified in my whole life, and never have.
What was it in the attic?
Flying squirrels.
Flying squirrels?
Oh. Flying squirrels. And they just scared us to death. But they...
Oh, I've only seen one flying squirrel up here.
They used to be...
They don't seem to have
They
them.
didn't seem to have screens in those days, because everybody had to shut out the flying squirrels.
For heaven's sake, I guess the gray squirrels have probably killed them all.
I guess they must have. And they'd get into the house, and they wouldn't do any harm, but they'd fly around and scare you to death. So, when Aunt Gussie told mother to send my brother and me up to Saluda, and she'd keep us until she had 3 cases of typhoid fever.
Oh, typhoid fever? Has she had the typhoid fever, or some of your children?
No, her children did.
Her children did. I see.
But she was where she had doctors and taking care of her. So we came up, and that's when we got up into the attic. We were in this house. I'll never forget that house. It was a lot of...
I'll have to ask Louise about that.
She probably doesn't know anything about that. Flying squirrels out there. We had to keep it. Nobody had screens like we have today to keep out.
That's right, because when we, back in 40, whatever, when we came, when I began coming up, of course Hank started coming up in 25, but all they had was those screens that you could put in the windows that you pushed together and then pulled them out again, so they fit in the windows, and you took those out in the winter and just left them out.
So we survived. We had a good time. The grandmother was always
works very nicely. I hope it's going to pick up your voice. You have such a soft voice, but I think it will.
I'm sorry I have such a...
Well, don't we all? You were saying it was very elegant up there. I'd like to know a little something about those houses. One of them...
Yeah, we rented the house. That house was not lived in for a long time. And Virginia knew somebody that had it. the McKeevers and two families that had.
The McKeevers, did you say?
McKeevers.
And wasn't it Judge Chisholm that had the big house across the way from that?
Well, I think he did. I think he did.
It's now,
Oh, yes.
Lucille Wanamaker's house was built where that old house was. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the other one was up at the top.
Up at the top. Over there, then.
And you stayed up there one year? You rented that, you said? You in Virginia?
Not that, no.
No, not that one?
No, we did.
Oh, you rented one of the little cottages,
One of the
didn't
little
you?
cottages.
That,
Because, I guess, I don't know what had happened to this house. This must have been...
maybe it was when you were getting it fixed,
Probably
winterized.
It was, well, we had it winterized before we came in to live. That was it. Nobody was living in here because we wanted to live up for the summer, you see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the winter.
For the winter.
And we had one up there, but nobody was living in this house.
Mm-hmm.
But until Virginia and I got it winterized, she called it. We had screens and furnace and that sort of thing put in before we could move in.
And then Margaret lived across the street.
Margaret and Virginia bought that from Miss whoever owned that big house on the corner.
Miss Wilcox.
Miss Halcott.
I didn't realize she owned that little one,
Yeah,
too.
she owned that. Still does.
No, she's been dead a long time.
Oh yes, she's still.
Miss Wilcox.
Yeah, Miss Wilcox
Miss
had the
Tippy,
big,
wasn't it?
Yeah, so she had the big house.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very excited. Exciting to have her over there. So, and the little children used to have dances at night. And we couldn't go to, the teenagers.
You couldn't go to
They
Henderson.
were allowed, most of them were allowed to go to Hendersonville.
The older ones.
But not Virginia, not me. We were not allowed out of this house.
Well, they used to say that people would go down in the afternoons. I guess that was very early,
And
just
meet
to
the
watch
train.
the train.
Oh, and meet their husbands. They'd come up every weekend.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah, they'd come up every weekend.
And the children going to meet their daddies.
Yeah,
Right.
and they'd come up they'd do that every week. The little boys would have strings and strings of chink pins around their necks, seven. And one day, did I tell you the train
left with Margaret on it. I think that's why.
Margaret on. Well, how they ever got it to backpack this loaded, I don't know, but they did.
Well, they used to have two banks downtown, didn't they?
Banks?
A bank. Now they have a bank again, but for years they didn't. I remember Hank was here when the bank failed. He said he remembered as a little boy back in about 1929 or 30, when the bank, everybody wanted their money, and they went to the bank and tried to get their money out, and they couldn't. They sent it over to Hendersonville. They couldn't get it when it failed. And then there was, but all those stores along the front street have been so many different things.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember when there was a movie theater there? Hank said the first movie he ever saw was in Saluda down there.
In Saluda, I think it was.
Down where the basket shop is now.
I remember that. I wouldn't have thought of it if you hadn't said it. But all I know is that Father wouldn't let us go.
Wouldn't let you go to the movie?
To dances.
Oh.
Because most of the nice dances there were in Henderson.
We're in Henderson.
And people used to go over there. But we used to have lots of fun.
Well, who are some of the other people that have lived along here now? There was the Coles. And who lived in the house next door to the Coles, the next one down?
You mean up the hill?
Oh. Well, yeah. No, this way, along
around the corner.
down this way. there's Louisa,
Yeah.
Tabor's house.
Yeah.
Tabor's house, and then next to that was the Ravenel house, wasn't it?
That's right.
And across the street from the Ravenel house, next door to the Coles house.
Oh, yes, they used to be our dearest friends, but I couldn't tell you what their names were right now.
It'll come as we
back.
talk. That's the way I do. I can't remember a name, and then suddenly it hits me.
Suddenly,
And then,
and they used to, the houses were always full of somebody. They used to run all the way down the hill.
well, tell me about getting laundry done. It seems to me I heard something about the mountain girls doing laundry and bringing it in carts. Did you ever, or did you just have it done at home?
I think they brought it here. I don't remember laundry being done here.
Well, I bet then the mountain girls probably did
They
it.
did, they probably did it.
I'm trying to think of some of the
There
things.
used to be a road right through there.
Over by to Charles Street.
Yeah, right there in there, and then there was a road that went right through. It could have a horse and buggy if they wanted to go through.
Through your
Through
yard?
my yard, right
Through
to
your
this-
yard,
Mhm.
oh.
But that was not used too much, I'll tell you that.
I understand that at one time they planned to put a road through to what they call Charles Street now. Saluda didn't have any street names, so it's hard to know when you talk about a street in Saluda. It hasn't been too many years that they've had names on them.
They didn't want names on them.
That's right. Well, the church, now Virginia did such wonderful work at the church.
Yes, Virginia, she was a amazing girl. She really was. She did so much. She just loved that church.
She
Just
said
as she did. Yeah, she got it going.
I remember the first time we went to church there, I remember Virginia there. And she did the church letter for a while. She used to send that.
Oh, yes, she was there. She adored that church.
Do you remember?
Mhm.
Do you remember who built the church? And I think it was he was an Episcopal minister.
He wasn't a minister. Now, Virginia could tell you that in a minute, because she probably helped do it. But I've forgotten who it was.
And tell me about the library.
Library across the street. And that was very nice. I mean, that was used a lot.
When we first started coming, it was still there, but it wasn't used too much.
That's
I remember I went over in the...
That's the only way they could get anything to read in Saluda. Was simple.
Well, I'm gonna, I think what I'll do is shut things off